Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. We're just waiting for Sarinda to join us. Hey Sarinda,
Hi, Farad. How are you?
not too bad. That was pretty easy. Connection works.
Yeah, that wasn't too bad. Went well.
Yeah, so we currently have about 9 or 10 viewers. Let's just give them a couple of minutes to come online because Instagram is probably sending them a notification to say that they should be online right now.
Sure.
Just take a couple of minutes to thank our wonderful sponsor, Marmite, for coming on board with this. So for everyone who's listening in, Marmite is enriched with vitamin B that plays a vital role in maintaining a good health and well-being. B vitamins have a direct impact on your energy level, brain function, and cell metabolism. Sarinda knows something about that because he's busy doing yoga while he was on lockdown, standing on his head.
I'm not doing much yoga these days. Just a few.
Yeah, it's better than it's better than most. I saw you trying to stand on your head.
Yeah, can do that. Can do.
Oh, excellent.
I still haven't got to standing on my hands though.
That's a tough one.
Able to do that was a long time.
Excellent. So I guess we have about 20-21 people. People will join as we proceed. So first of all, thank you so very much for joining Fitski for the session on the mind game. A couple of things that we want to get into. So this is not about the whole physical aspect of things. It's more of the mental journey and the mental resilience that people need to deal with. So just a quick question. Could you speak once? Because I don't think the communication line is clear.
Can you hear me now? Good?
Now I can hear you. Yeah, now it's good. Now it's good.
I pushed the phone a bit away from me. That's probably why.
All right. Okay. So let me start off with on a personal note, right? So many days of lockdown and being distant. How were you personally coping mentally with all of this stuff going on?
Best 2 months of my life. It has been. First, I always want to give thanks to the people who are fighting to keep everybody healthy, all the medical staff that are out there, everybody who's really put their lives on the line. And thanks to them for keeping us safe. And after that, what I would like to say is this is a time that in the last 20 years of my life, if I take my last 20 years of career, I don't think I've ever had a period where I've been at home for 2 months. So, the first thing is, are you going to get claustrophobic and go crazy? No, I wasn't, because this is the first time I've really got to spend a long duration of time with my kids in the last God knows how long. We are fortunate to have a large garden and enough space not to get on each other's nerves. So for me, the initial shock of the body, the scare, the fear of not knowing what was going on, once I got beyond that, it started settling into a routine, something that was I started really looking at how positive this time was. No disturbances, working from home, couldn't go anywhere, nobody was going to come visit, very few phone calls, any phone calls or any meetings were all scheduled, so you knew when they were going to happen. So on that basis, I felt that it was a really good time for us to, one, take stock of our lives, take stock of who we are, and really focus on trying to become a better version of who we are as individuals. So for me, this has been an amazing 2 months.
You rarely hear that perspective because a lot of people were like, oh my God, what's going to happen? That, the fear of the uncertainty, they chose to look at it from that perspective of something bad is happening, something bad is impending. But of course, while that's true, it's also great to have that perspective of inward reflection.
Yeah, so the fear of the unknown, what can you do? I mean, it's unknown, right? It becomes extremely irrational. It's only normal, the human, to be scared of what could potentially happen. But I think it's important that we first look at where we are. We are safe, we are at home, we've got food to eat, we've got medication, protection. If look at the positives and then look at, okay, from this point, what can happen going forward? And I think a lot of this, for a lot of people, including myself, I'm at a stage of my career where I've got to think of, okay, at what point do I start winding down? And am I financially stable enough to be able to wind down the way I want to? Now, in a situation like this, with stock markets getting wiped out and investments getting wiped out, it puts us all in very vulnerable situations. So that can really feed on a lot of negativity in you and make you start feeling very scared for yourself. But it's irrational because there's nothing you can do about it. It's all beyond your control. You are not alone in this. You weren't victimized. So you've just got to look at it, put it, say, okay, still got my health. I've still got my ability. My brain is still functioning, reasonably well. That is questionable, though. Still we come out of this and we are all equal again, and we all start off from where we were. I really feel that we are in a fortunate situation, being people who are working for reasonably stable companies, very stable companies, I would say, that are taking care of us, because I feel really bad for people who have sole proprietorships or who are daily wage earners, who have got 60, 70, 80, if not all the income wiped out completely. So we are in a very comfortable situation in that sense. So I think without dwelling on the negatives, I think we should dwell on the positives. For me, the glass has always been half full. I've always been a person who looked at the positive. Sometimes and become a bit of a joke.
Excessively.
But I've always been that. Yeah, so, but I've always been that way. And I always thought that could happen. And I really feel that we'll come out of this better, leaner, stronger, and more capable of taking care of ourselves.
So in line with that, when I called you earlier today, you said you were on a plant visit. And one of the things that I want to sort of pick your brain on is that you in a person in a position of power thinking that way is great, but then you have so many dependents around you. And sometimes just telling them these things will not help. So anybody who's even listening to this, it's a very human thing to say, that's great. I wish I could think that way. I wish I could feel that way. And when someone around you, like a dependent, is feeling, spectacularly shit, let's say, and all these words, they're like, I know what you mean, but what am I supposed to do type of thing. What do you say to someone who's in that position?
So the one thing that you have to do in a position of authority or in a position of leadership is that you have to constantly communicate. You have to tell people what's going on. You have to keep them appraised of what your plans are for the organization. The organization is going, because everybody has the same fears. So the first thing is, I think, them educated, keep them informed on everything that you're doing from an organizational point of view. The second thing is, now out today to the plants and you meet people, that you talk to people and you ask them what their fears, and you try to have open that link of communication. Now, what we have created is, we have created chat groups, we have created some very interesting chat groups that are about how we feel. And so I think all those things combined help to give the person who is at home in isolation a lot more comfort, to realize that they are not tossed out there all alone, that they are not stuck in an environment at home alone and drifting along like driftwood somewhere. You are a part of an organization. You are an organization with strength, stability, that has a plan to go forward. That communication is important, and it's also important to have a plan. So scenarios. And the most difficult thing for us at a time like this is, even to make plans, you don't know what the next and the next and the next step is going to be. You don't know what the next wave of COVID is going to be like. You don't know how markets are going to react. Also, you don't know that after COVID is over, what the economic downturn is going to result in. There is going to be a global recession, an economic downward spiral for a while. How are markets going to do? So there are lots of things that we don't know. But at the same time, as organizations and as individuals, there are factors that we know. So let's work within those factors. And 70%, 80% of our mind time, of our time, focusing on the factors that we know and reacting to those. 20% focus on what could potentially, and then make your plans. I'm a person who makes plans all the time. I have books that I just keep writing notes,
Whoa.
and making mind maps and all kinds of stuff. I love doing that stuff because it keeps me constantly thinking. The joke in my family is that I can't decide what's for dinner because I change my mind 10 times. Right? But I love to continuously change things, plan things, look at scenarios, and it just keeps me excited. It keeps me going. And I think in a situation, all you can do is on what you know and react to that.
Excellent. So before we get into the next question, to everybody who's listening in, by all means, just drop in your questions that you have to ask Sarinda, and we'll weasel them into our little conversation here. So one thing that I wanted to check with you that so 15 years at Aqua, and then you made the transition. Then you made the transition to Krida, and in the transition, obviously, there might have been a little bit of, fear, a little bit of uncertainty, a little bit of excitement, all of those things, rushing through your head. And similarly here, in a different scale, there is more uncertainty, more things that are, floating around. And the point you said about controlling, focusing on things we can control versus the things we can't is the way to go. But what are the conversations you're having inside your head? When those little doubts pop up, should I, shouldn't I, what can I, maybe this, maybe that, what are you doing for those?
So the choice of me switching after 16 years of Aqua, that was the company I started working with. I was M1, so that was like my baby, that child that I brought up and took to school and sent to university, and we did quite well. Assessing where the opportunity came up. I was a part of the structure, the strategic team that was working on the change or the new company. It was a company that was being set up within MAS to deal with a particular customer that we had on a one-on-one basis. The first time MAS has ever done that. So being a part of that, in my mind, here was an opportunity to take something on again. You don't get to start something new every day.
Yeah.
If you start something new, you grab it, right? So when I was given when I was a part of that, in my mind, I was thinking, okay, half my mind was saying, go for it. The other half was like, dude, you're at a stage.
You've done this before.
Just go cruise through the next 5-10 years, you're home and dry, and then bugger off into the sunset. But so boring, because I have been in an organization, running an organization that I knew like the back of my hand. And I knew what was going to happen. People were probably bored with me. And it was just a case of, okay, I need to give my career another boost. I need to give my career another set of legs to run a little further. And I wasn't ready to roll over. So I made the conscious choice that I was going to take on something that was going to pull me completely out of my comfort zone. And I believe that if you don't pull yourself out of your comfort zone and put yourself in a situation where you've got to old dog learning new tricks, that you just wither away and die. So I think anyone needs to continuously renew, needs to look at new opportunities, new challenges to keep themselves growing. If you're not growing, you're dying. You're not standing in one place. You're either growing and moving forward, or you're staying in one place and dying. So I hope not to die just yet.
And I think this is a situation where the outside world has enforced that condition upon us, where now you have no choice but to evolve and to grow and to move forward.
Yes. So even those of us who are the most reluctant to take bold steps, change their lives, have forced into a situation now that their lives have changed. So don't waste this opportunity and go back where we were. Take this opportunity and become a better version of you.
So on that point of opportunity, so I'm going to drift into trail, because what is it to speak to Sarinda and not talk about trail? So trail, a lot of people talk about the accomplishments which were outstanding, and people always wonder, how are they walking every day, 20, 25 kilometers every day? They wonder it. But the question I have here is to make your mind take your tired feet and repeatedly just plod over and over again for about 28, 30 days, what type of mental resilience is required to exert that physical force? And you did it twice over.
Yeah. So I'm a bit of a glutton for punishment. But what was most difficult was getting out of bed. And I say that because you're tired and
Yep.
you walk a few days and yeah, you have half a day to recover, but still you're a bit tired. But the thing is, every time we got out of bed, put our shoes on and walked to that starting point every day, and you get out of your vehicle and you're greeted by a couple of hundred, if not a couple of thousand people waiting to walk with you, get an incredible boost of energy from everybody around you. You know how they talk about home court advantage when you're playing a home, when you're
Yeah.
playing, it's like that. Anyone who has played sport in the audience right now, if you have run onto your home grounds with your home crowd cheering you, you know what that's like. You run onto your opposition's ground and everybody is like cheering for the opposition and leaving you out of it. There is a different energy. So
Yeah.
for us, Dave was playing on home court. For Nathan and me, at at that time we were probably not in the best of shape either when we were walking the first couple of times. But it was fantastic because every time we went out there were friends of ours who had come from overseas. There were people who worked with family members. Everybody who would come, they'd be like, "Hi, we're here, we're walking with you." So how could you not be charged up to walk at a time like that? You went out there. There were people on the sides of the roads. They were feeding us, giving us to drink. It was amazing. I mean, that energy, you could not have any doubt about completing that day's work.
So I'm going to take that and combine it with something that you said earlier, that you're constantly the optimistic person. After April last year, a lot of people thought it couldn't get any worse. And in some aspects, this is not worse in terms of loss of life and stuff. But economically, we took another hit. Now, a lot of people trying to come out of it, they're probably thinking, okay, can't get any worse than this. But in reality, we don't know, because like you said earlier, we don't know. Even to plan some things, we don't know. To a lay person who's trying to put food on his table, who's trying to make it hard to work, who's trying to just make it through, what sort of message do you have to give them in terms of, you've got to be ready even for another wave and another wave and another wave. So just don't be hoping that it's going to be all good. What sort of thinking pattern should that person have?
So this is going to be a very individual kind of situation because it depends a lot on what that person's income status is going to be and what that person's employment status. If somebody has stable employment, what I would tell them is be thrifty, be frugal, don't spend too much money, keep your cash, invest wisely. I don't know what to invest at the moment, but invest wisely and try to hold on to your cash and not be extravagant during this period. For somebody who is unemployed or somebody who has lost their employment, that's a difficult one for me to address because that is only that person knows how desperate they are and what their situation really is. But if you do have a skill, obviously look for employment would be what I would say. But if you do have a skill, something out there, look for an opportunity to start something during this. There are lots of services that have cropped up in the last 2 to 3 months that are going to be really, really strong platforms of growth going forward. I can think of a whole bunch of very business savvy IT folks who have created various platforms, who have altered platforms that were built for hotel reservations have now been built to supermarket goods. So that kind of thing, that kind of creative thinking has been something that has been very positive that has come out of this whole thing. So I think it's really important for us to look at, one, if you are a person who's being employed and you have a salary coming in and you're relatively stable, be frugal, be careful with your expenditure and make sure that you're planning for the future. Second one is, if you don't have employment, it's time that you really started looking at opportunities out there, and lots of people are looking for services to be provided at home, because now I think I really hope that all the companies out there don't suddenly go and say, okay, come back to work and get everybody back to work. That would be a stupid thing to do. right? You can really make working from home work for you. And if you can keep 50% of your staff working from home at any given time, work on a roster, look at the savings that you can incur. Your real estate requirement will go down by half. If you're renting spaces, you can cut your rentals by half. So there are so many opportunities available. You let people have a better balance in their lives. The quality of life becomes so much better when you're working from home. So that balance of, a roster where people come to work maybe 2 days a week, 3 days a week, and you keep only about 50% of your staff going in, means that you're giving people opportunities to do a lot of other things as well. I think I'm drifting off in a different direction, but this is a time that we have to start looking at opportunities that are popping up, because no other. It's going to be a tough period, but these are the times where opportunities come up as well.
So on that note, we've been talking about, let's say, more from an employee-centric perspective, but because you mentioned that point, a lot of Sri Lankan employers of the sense of, I need to see my employee, I need to know that they're working by visually seeing, because they're in that traditional, master sort of mindset. So my question to you is, if you could give a little bit of perspective in terms of potential employees, even for small businesses or even large-scale organizations who might be watching, what your expectation mindset from your potential team is. So them staying at home and working is not going to be them working from work. It's not going to be the same dynamic, but we need to change our perspective to outcome rather than, execution system.
So this is a battle that I have had at work with people outside coconut forums. And I said, how do you know when working? They could be sitting under a coconut tree and sipping a cocktail. Who cares? You give somebody a task and they have to execute that. They don't execute that task, or you judge them the same way. Everybody has KPI, so you measure them for that. What they do in their free time is none of your business. So the whole thing about us, being control freaks, trying to this hierarchical mindset where the boss has to see your subordinates working below you. That's utter bullshit. That's stuff in the past. We have to now learn to deal with the technology that we have available. Give people the freedom to balance their lives out. You will have a motivated, focused workforce. Expecting what of them. They are people who come and sit in office and do nothing. So is that the right thing to do? No, you judge everybody by their performance, and where they are is consequential. So if in a time and age now where this kind of technology available, why bring people to work? We have been at Krida, when we set up Krida, we set it up by having work from home as an option. And we started introducing first 1 day working from home and then 2 days working from home. And the sad thing is, very few people actually took that option and worked from home. Very few people. Because it's our mindset.
Yeah.
If we stay at home, my boss is going to think I'm not working. That's so wrong. And for us as leaders to encourage people to go and work from home, to encourage people, take your time off. I used to ask people a question at the end of the year, almost every year I used to do this, and subsequently even read, is how many days leave did you take for the year? I take, and they're like, I didn't take any leave. And I idiot. They have leave so that they can take their time with family, do their hobby, go on. Take the time off and enrich yourself. Don't come like a slave to office. Nobody is going to give an increment just because you didn't. So those are things that I think we, both sides, employee and employer, because we come from a hierarchical society, because we come from where our parents have told us exactly what to do. I know my son is listening. I never told him exactly what to do. But we come from that society where
the regimental mindset.
Everybody have ordered. So we have to change that. We have to break out of that mode.
So we're just going to pop into a question that Senpati has asked. She said that, do you think mental resilience outside work directly correlates to at-work performance too? So I think the obvious answer would be yes, but would you care to give us a little bit of detail on that balance? Because that point, right? If the employee is sitting under a tree, putting a cocktail and still delivering his KPIs, everybody's happy, putting a small shot, getting the work done, everyone's happy, right? So how do you think that correlates?
So I think that's, I can only refer to myself because that's the only subject that I really study. Is that I can tell you that when I'm in a happy place, say my physical fitness has a direct correlation to my mental fitness, and my mental fitness has a direct correlation to how I perform at office. Because if I'm feeling really good and focused and relaxed and in terms of that, to performing in a work environment. So I think there's definitely a very strong correlation, and people underestimate the work that needs to be done on your mental in life in general. Because how many of us, if we are suffering an issue or suffering some kind of depression or anything like that, will actually go to a psychologist or psychiatrist and get help, or a counselor? How many of us will do that? I will, and I do. I have for years. I really feel that there are things that are in my mind that are outside my control, and I don't know how to deal with them. And then I get professional help. It's like you pull hamstring, you go to a physiotherapist. So it's the same thing. I think it's very, very important that people take their mental health and their mental well-being extremely seriously.
Without making it taboo, without any reason.
No, there's taboo about it. You
Yeah.
get a toothache to the dentist. Nobody's going to. Is there nothing taboo about that? So you something wrong. You go to the. That's it. There's nothing wrong.
On this aspect of mental health, because Nathan is also here on our chat. Hi, Nathan. Thanks for joining us. The thing that I want to ask is, like, say, let's take traditionally Sri Lankan males. Usually, majority are very closed up about their emotions, let's say, in a traditional sense. And a lot of the times, let's say, most of them, let's say, are breadwinners. And they're coping, they're holding in a lot of stress in terms of finance, in terms of all of these things, right? And this, exacerbates and comes out in different ways, maybe in terms of domestic violence, maybe in terms of, their own personal issues. Now, how important is it having a set of people who you are close to, who you open up, like, say, for instance, you and Nathan both did trail, and I have no doubt there would have been evenings where you're both like, shit, man, can't do this again tomorrow, but you push each other on and you get the bloody thing done, right? And even in this situation, how important is it to have that, that go-to person or people, whether it's family or friends, in order to, so that you're not in it alone?
A support structure is something that's something that has been proven on many scientific, for example, even longevity and happiness. People who have a good support structure, who have a good framework of friends, just like, I think it's very, very important. Also, but the thing is, there are lots of people who have the support structure but still don't talk. So there are people who will have the support structure, but they can't articulate themselves. They won't voice their sentiments. They won't voice how they are feeling. So that is bad as well. It's good to have a support structure and then be able to talk to that person. Nathan's heard so many stories of me bitching to him, and he and probably cried together more than we've done with anybody else. But those were. That is where friendships come in. That's where friendships are built. When you start communicating and talking to people and, opening up to each other, it just creates for a lovely environment to be in. You feel so much more relaxed. They say, you share a problem, it becomes lighter.
Yeah. I guess it's to do with a symbiotic relationship rather than, expecting one person to always be the stronger one.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Look, I mean, they're saying somebody needs to kick your ass occasionally. And that's true. Because you need some good perspective. Because if you're becoming a bit of a drama, it's good for somebody to just come and give a whack on your head and say, get with the program. It's not put back on track. Zetun does.
And I think it's because Zetun knows that you're a sucker for punishment and you're slightly masochistic. That's why. And it's good to see that so many people are agreeing with that. So we have Setpati, Ridwan, everybody's like, yeah. All right, so guys, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask or pose or try and trip Sarinda over, we're open to responding to those things by all means. So a question that I want to sort of get into in your mind is that with the future, with all the uncertainties and not knowing where it's going, in your planning process, how often do you have checks? How often do you have these sort of door stoppers? How often do you have, situational checks, both personally and professionally?
Professionally, those are built into our operational structure. So we have quarterly checks, we have half-year checks, we have checks within our company, we have checks within the group. So those are things that are built into the structure, and it happens quite formally. My life, personally, I try to. There is no formality. I can't say that I do it every 6 weeks or 2 months or whatever. But periodically, I sit down and I have a very simple barometer that I live my life by. I look at a scenario where a doctor has told me that I'm going to die within the next 24 hours. Right?
That
So
works. It puts everything into perspective.
What would you look back on your life as? Right? What is your thought process at that time? Is it going to be, oh no, I have so much more that I want to do. I wanted to do this. I haven't done this. I haven't done this. I haven't da da da. Or are you going to sit there and be like, not bad? No? So as long as I'm in that position thinking, not bad, on the right track. But there are times where I like, oh shit, I better get this in order before that happens, and then you start focusing on and trying to get your affairs in order, because there are always things that you need to do. But I think that you do look at yourself, you do look at you and to your position and see, okay, am I on? And that's where it comes in.
The little book. So there's a comment saying, if MAS and other companies as well had done the setup for work from home, we would have been in a better position to fight. I think Sarinda answered that when you set up Krida, there were options for people to work from home, but people were reluctant to take it up.
Yeah, but having said that, we were making a lot of progress. I mean, in the first year when we started it took a lot of convincing. Now, 2 years down the line, it was happening quite frequently. But we're taking time, including myself. I used to work at least one day from home every week. Having said that, even the MAS group, not just Krida, has started introducing this gradually. It has happened slowly in some places and fastly in the other places, but it is happening. It's going to get faster.
So I think various 365, we answered the question already in terms of why are people still uncomfortable with working from home, because we're in that old regimental mindset type of thing. As a sort of a person who's done multiple things, so professionally, personally, and I'm going to use the whole trail thing as a social warriorly type of thing. How important do you think is this aspect of others in terms of this enrichment of your life? Because we saw that with these, there were different groups of people, right? Some people rushed to get stuff for themselves, while some people rushed to provide for people who didn't have enough. How important is, because we're human beings, we're social creatures, where do you see that whole balance in terms of self-fulfillment?
Again, it goes down to the individual and what drives and motivates them. Personally, this is just speaking for myself. I get a lot of pleasure out of helping people, working with people, and I know Nathan's online. He's still online. Nathan is another person who has really been motivated a lot by helping people. And when you're around people like that, there's a different level of energy. I mean, that's one of the reasons why he and I get along so well, and we have done so many successful things together, is that we both get this energy. I believe he gets it also. Occasionally he gets a dig from me as well. But we get this energy from each other of, helping people, doing something good, and really feeling positive about it. You don't necessarily do something with the intention of getting anything in return. It's just that it makes you feel, better about yourself at the end of the day. I really feel that if you are a person who's just looking at only your life and yourself, there isn't a hell of a lot of value attached to you then. As a part of society, what we can contribute to society, how valuable a player we can be within the society that we are in, makes us a vital element in that society and adds value to us as human beings. Otherwise, it's just a case of us drifting along on a path alone, taking care of ourselves. We were never meant to be like that. We are pack animals. We take care of each other. I read something really interesting. The first sign of human civilization that is available right now, the first sign of human civilization was healed a thigh bone, right? And that dates back to God knows how many million years ago.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. Yeah.
That was incredible, because what that showed was that there was a society, there was a community that was taking care of that individual, and that was the sign of civilization. So to me, that just was like this light going off, because that's what it is. It's being a part of society, being a part of contributing to society. That's what it is.
So to give some context to the other people, so a lot of people had looked at civilization as these buildings and institutions, but then this that person would usually die because there was no way to heal. Other humanoid forms had decided to take this person and heal them, and that was that humanity or civilization point. So there's a question from Ashan de Costa. I'm guessing an MAS employee. What do you feel is the biggest strength of our company right now? All right, let's go.
It's a partner. It's a partner that we work with. It's going to probably violate some policy or the other, but we have an extremely stable, strong partner who is one of the biggest apparel manufacturing brands in the world, and that strength and the stability we have as an organization is the biggest, because there are lots of brands that this period that are going bankrupt, that are shrinking in size. But the strength and stability of the partner that we work with is what's going to keep us going forward, and that is the biggest comfort factor that I have.
So we have another question, bringing it into the fitness space, because before we started, we were having a small chat and talking about Sarinda's yoga habits. How do you make up your mind to work out and keep yourself fit during the lockdown period? Many struggle to find the motivation to get up and work out, but have plenty of time for Netflix.
So Nathan is probably listening to this and laughing, because I have worked out almost all the time, but I vary in size. I vary in size going into my mouth. So, but the big one, I haven't had much of a problem with working out. But because I had the time in the last 2 months, my regime has been incredible. And also because my kids, they're not kids, my adult children who live with me and their partners who also live here, staying with me at the moment, are heavily into CrossFit, are heavily into working out, and every day they work out. So there's a lot of pressure on me. My partner also works out every day. So there's a lot of pressure on me. So what I started doing was getting into a routine. I get up in the morning and I have my bicycle hooked up on a machine, indoor machine, and I ride for 1 hour. So I do 1 hour cardio 6 days a week.
Wow.
3 days a week in the evenings, I do a fairly vigorous set of CrossFit rooms, standing up, those are just for fun. But I have, because I'm in an environment where there's so much going on around me, it kind of pressures me also to be a part of that. The boys and their girlfriends, and my girlfriend, they work out every evening or every morning diligently, and they do killer workouts. I can't keep up with them, I'll die. So I do my own workout, and but I have, over this period of time, I managed to shed 6 kilos, and I
Whoa.
think I'm quite thrilled about it. And also, it's a time where I have been able to get into this routine. So I'm really hoping that when we get back to work, we have now decided that we are going to continue with this flexibility, that I will be able to build the same routine into my daily work week. So I work out for 6 days and take one day off. So that has been awesome. I don't have a big problem working out. The biggest problem I have is controlling what I put, what I eat, and the fact that I didn't was a huge benefit. So no fast.
It's a great thing that you edited it from controlling what you put in your mouth to what you eat. That it's a good thing you clarified, Sarinda. We have a question. Do you think the environment will get some consideration in the rush to revive the economy? I guess this is a question on sustainability and more care on the greener paths. So do you think the environment will get some consideration in the rush to revive the economy?
I certainly hope so, because if you look at all these things have been proven, the air quality in Sri Lanka and around the world has improved so dramatically. So it shows that when we are polluting the planet and taking, doing so much damage to it, what the impact is. So that is why I'm really pushing very hard for MAS and for all the other companies out there to try and reduce the number of days work. Because if we can reduce the transportation, if we can by percent by not having people travel as much, there's going to be a huge impact on the cleanliness of the carbon, all that. The next thing is, I think all of us have realized, and I certainly hope something that we take very seriously. In the summer, we do is, nobody needs 10 pairs of jeans and 25. And we realize how simple life can really be. What are the things that you really miss? It's not, 10 pairs of sneakers and 20 pairs of whatever. It's not. So I think if we can reduce our consumption, the best way to reduce pollution is to reduce consumption. It takes 200 liters of water to make a shirt. 200 liters of one cotton shirt.
Wow.
So when you buy 10, see what you're doing, right? So why so many shirts? So just be conscious. I really hope people take this seriously. Try as much as possible to reduce the amount of transportation and travel that companies do. Use technology more, reduce your footprint. Also, individually, reduce your consumption. Reduce the consumables, reduce your consumption. That's the only way we can contribute and make sure plastics, things are, but the consumption, the amount of clothing and unnecessary things, luxury items that we spend a fortune on buying, branded handbags and belts. What is that? You're just feeding your ego. If we are that shallow that we need a bag or a branded pair of shoes to increase the value of ourselves as individuals, that's a pretty sad place to be in. So I think that is something that I'm a victim of that. I have spent a fortune on clothes, but I'm good.
as you absolutely so. Sneaker freak over here. I think I own over 30 pairs of sneakers, and I really missed wearing them. But at the same time, it puts things into perspective, right? Bata deka ati type of thing, in a sense.
There is a certain amount of indulgence that you need to have, but at the same time, I think we need to put things in perspective. We need to really look at the impact to planet, and we have to start taking these things seriously now, because there is no second chance on the planet. So this is the opportunity for us to really put those things right.
And I think our impact was very visible where we saw peacocks turning up in Mount Lavinia, and in Delhi things clearing up and people being able to see the Everest range. So it's obvious our impact in such a consumer-centric society. We wonder, we put the onus on the companies, like what are you doing for sustainability, what are you doing for recycling? But like you said, if we reduce our consumption, one cotton shirt, there's a direct impact down the line. There's a comment more than a question. It's a comment, I think, says energies and a positive aura. Some real talks are in the positivity around you lifts you up, and the opposite. Negative energy really sucks it up, even if you are the most positive person around.
That's why you
Excellent.
must surround positive people.
To give you the kick up the backside.
Yeah. Negative people are toxic. Move away from it.
All right, so guys, so with the mind game, what we wanted to do was pick people's minds, people who've, walked the talk, who've done it, who've made it work. The mind game is brought to you by Marmite in partnership with, of course, Fitsky. So each of the components in vitamin B that you find helps produce red blood cells, improves the cardiovascular health, and helps to reduce fatigue and stress, all of which is important if you're trying to change the world, right? So vitamin B1 helps the energy-yielding cell metabolism process by turning carbohydrates into energy, right? So we don't want this to be like a long, drawn-out discussion. We've been talking for 45 minutes. We're just taking a couple of more questions if anybody has any, and then we will wind this up. Let's see. Good answer on the environment shall be holding you to it. That's great. My tree is talked. I think Sarinda is ready to walk the talk. He's done it across the country twice. Sympathy, you have an adoring employee here. Why we work with you. Excellent. All right. So I guess a lot of people find working with Sarinda quite inspirational, not because he is just a person who talks, but because he's a doer as well. And it's really hard to not be inspired to work when, the person you're reporting to is, miles and yonks ahead of you in terms of trying to balance things out and pushing himself, and especially, headstands. Saroj is asking, what's your next adventure? What's the plan?
I don't know. Must think of something, Saroj. Not thought of it yet. Something will pop up soon.
It'll probably turn up in the book. I guess a quick way to think of it is to go back to when your doc says you only have 24 hours to live.
Yeah, there you go. No, I think, in terms of doing another walk or anything like that, there isn't anything on the cards right now. I think circumstances have changed. Time has moved on. Other no longer works. That's on his own now. So there are lots of things that we have to take into consideration. But first, we have been struggling to build the hospital because there have been so many pitfalls, so many obstacles. We are hoping that it will now get pushed through. The second hospital, the first hospital is built operational during 5. Second one, if we get, that is the next adventure, trying to get that thing completed. But after that, I think what is important is everything you do in life can't be an epic adventure. Everything can't be a 1,000 people, 100,000 person walk across the country. Sometimes it's a small adventures, going and seeing some beautiful place, doing something special, climbing a mountain, going to some place that you haven't been before. Those little things are all part of life's adventures. And I think those are the things that we need to focus on. Focus on always have something that keeps you excited and something to look forward to. I love making plans. I know my family is probably laughing. They know I told dinner gets changed 3 times. But I think it's also important that we have things to look forward to, things that we strive towards. Otherwise, we become very single-dimensional. So set targets, go on holiday, travel as much as possible, do as much as possible. Enjoy life. One life to live. That's it. No fun.
So as a closing note, what final message would you like to give someone who finds themselves mentally at a position of, I can't do this anymore? As an optimistic person, as a person who's, with all the things you said and how you look at things, what can you say to someone like that who's, trying to find the energy or stimulation to make it work for them and for others around them?
So there are 2 types of I can't do this anymore, right? There is the short term, that do something. I would say go for a long walk, energize yourself, do a workout, do something different and get some energy built in your physical body so that then it starts to feel a little better. That's one. The other thing is if you start going into like a depression situation, problems with your mental health, then do not hesitate to go and get help. There are organizations, go and get help. There is no shame in it. There is nothing wrong in reaching out and getting help to make yourself feel better. So the two different things, one is well within your control. Mental illness is not within your control. Mental illness is something that can really have a detrimental impact on everybody around you and your future as well. So you need to, one, you can get up and get off your lazy ass and do feel better about yourself and just start feeling positive. Another thing that I really like to do is down. When I'm feeling a little down, what I like to do is I like to write up all the positive things that have happened in my life. All the things I'm grateful for, all the great things I have in my life. And it kind of puts things in perspective that we have so much to be grateful for. And then
Excellent. I guess if you shift your perspective a bit, you can always find something to make it work.
Absolutely. And we've all been through shit. Don't think you're alone. Nothing special. Everybody's been through. And some people have been through a hell of a lot more shit than others have. But it's you can't let what has happened to you in the past make you a victim. You can't be a victim to that. You have to go for it.
All right, Sarinda, we have one more thing to do. Look into the camera and give us your best smile. We need to take a screenshot.
Oh, dear God.
Biggest smile. We're going to do it now. Done. Brilliant. All right. Thank you so very much for being part of the Mind Game with Fitzky and Marmite. It's been a pleasure talking to you. When I was gonna do this, Vidusha messaged me and said we're gonna have a rollicking time, and I saw your session with Imran, and I thought this is gonna be a really, really fun discussion, and it was indeed lovely perspectives, lovely energy, and hopefully we will hear about your next adventure soon. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Enjoyed it. Thanks a lot, guys. All the best.
See ya.
Bye.